next storyteller is one of those people, very special people. She's co-founder of Catamount Institute, teacher of environmental education. Please welcome Julie Francis.
Well, I don't have a voice disability or a Scottish accent, but I could probably use a hug after this. So this is my story, sort of the making of how I became an environmentalist, how I got that fire in the belly, and I feel very fortunate that that I have that fire in the belly to get out there and help our planet, and I think that many of you obviously feel the same way. So, you mentioned Catamount, and Catamount Institute was started along with my husband Howard Drossman in 1997. We started it, the mission to inspire ecological stewardship, and it's really flourished in the Springs. It's so exciting that this little baby of ours has grown up, gone to college in a sense. It's out there in the community. We've served probably 25,000 kids in the last 12 years. These are underserved kids. We've trained teachers. We've been all throughout the community. And then the other bookend of the Catamount Institute is, of course, the Sustainable Business Network. And just like problem children, our businesses need to think about not just profit, but the people and the planet as well. So we like to think about we're reaching people and companies that don't usually think about systems and that sort of thing. And then we also have the Catamount Center, which is a separate nonprofit that kind of spun off from the Institute. And that's up in Woodland Park, and it's a 177-acre campus. It was the old YMCA, and we do research, environmental research up there, and college education programs for the environment. So it's all very exciting. But the real story started, gosh, 30 years ago, over 30 years ago, when I was just about 18 years old, at my first year of college. And I was kind of one of those high school students that had fun and liked to party and couldn't really get serious about anything. And my parents said, what are we going to do with her? And I said to myself, well, the only thing that really makes sense to me in this world is nature and the environment. And I heard about this school. This is 1980. I heard about this school called the Audubon Expedition Institute. And this was back when nobody really did things like this. Nowadays, every college student goes abroad and they go to Outward Bound and Knowles and all these different wonderful things. But this was back when my friends were going to, University of Illinois or different colleges, and here I was, going on the Audubon Expedition Institute. So what that was a year-long immersion experience, traveling around the country on a school bus, literally camping out every night from Maine to Florida to the Southwest. All the learning experiential. We just had a tarp, a sleeping bag, backpack on the roof, that sort of thing. So, a real immersion experience. And as you can imagine, being on, we called it the bus, there were rules, and it was very strict rules, almost like a commune, where you couldn't drink, you couldn't smoke, you couldn't have sex with anybody. You just had to be part of the group, and every night we processed and we talked about, our environmental actions, and so from going from this little partier high school kid to being on the Audubon expedition was like a big paradigm shift for me, huge. So yeah, and it was amazing though in a lot of ways, and I made a best friend on that trip who I'm still friends with today, named Lorraine. And so what I'm going to tell you about is something that happened during that trip. And it was during the first couple weeks, I was pretty nervous. We were camping up in northern Maine, up in Lubec, Maine, about as north as you can get. You go across the little channel and you're in Canada. And at first, we were camping, we went on a solo. I remember on my solo I had only an orange to eat and I was up on a bluff overlooking the ocean, saved my orange for a snack before bed and it rolled into the ocean, gone. It was cold, it was rainy, you know, couldn't smoke pot, stuff like that. It was a lot of adversity. Had to think about all of our environmental actions. So we were camping, we came back after our solo and we set up a base camp. Now, I don't know if anybody here's heard of the book, How to Shit in the Woods, but that book had a really big impact on me, really, and it had to do with my making of becoming an environmentalist. And so we got to our campsite and our instructor said, okay, we're gonna really do this right, set up our primitive campsite, we're gonna dig a latrine. So we dug this latrine, and the rule is you always go in the latrine, and when we're done, we're gonna bury it, and it's just gonna go back into the humus layer. I always get humus and hummus mixed up. The humus layer, and pack out our trash and all of that, very pristine. Okay, so I went to bed, and in the middle of the night, I had the urge, and it was raining, and it was cold, and I couldn't find my flashlight. I was trying to find the latrine, feeling all around. I'm like, okay, I think I'm at the latrine, so I wasn't really, but I was under some tree, out of the way, did my business, went to bed, forgot all about it, woke up the next day, it's a new day, and we're sitting around after breakfast and it's time for our group meeting. And Lucy says, I really hate to bring this up, this is totally embarrassing, but I was out this morning and somebody didn't use the latrine. And all of a sudden, I become a clam. Has that ever happened to you? Where you just clam up and you're just I couldn't even talk. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was probably me. Probably me. But I just couldn't talk, I couldn't say anything, I'm not sure why that was. And so we spent the next hour trying to figure out who it was that did that. And the more they're talking about it, the more I'm just I can't even talk. And so finally, Frank Trocco, our teacher, says, well, why don't we all take a little walk out there and we'll look at it. And we'll decide, maybe one person will come forward. And so we all walked out there, and we all looked at it for about 20 minutes. And then we went back inside to a meeting room, and Frank said, well, did that jog anybody's? And I said to myself, well, actually I said out loud, guys, I'm pretty sure it was me. I said I woke up in the middle of the night, I remember I had to go, I thought I was at the latrine, but maybe I wasn't, it was probably me, no big deal, let's just go on. And they all got quiet, and they all said simultaneously, oh, it couldn't be you, it wasn't you, there's no way it was you. It was me. I was positive it couldn't be me, so let's just say it was me. And they were like, and I said, well, it was me. No, it wasn't you. So anyway, why that was, you know, was it because I was too young? I was one of the youngest ones there. There were graduate students on the bus. Maybe I was too shy or too quiet or too innocent. I don't know why that was. And I don't know why I couldn't come forward and just say it, you know, right in the very beginning, but it wasn't really that big of a deal, was it? So, and I remember having the feeling like, you know, if a bear shits in the woods, how do you know? I mean, you know, so maybe it didn't really happen. Anyway, so we went on with our wonderful expeditions. We backpacked in the Everglades. Who backpacks in the Everglades? We went from hummock to hummock through the sawgrass. We saw pygmy rattlesnakes and cottonmouths and beautiful exotic birds and camped in these hardwoods islands in the sawgrass. We lived with the Amish and butchered chickens. We went out to the Southwest and hiked all over the Grand Canyon, lived with the Hopis for a month. Just really, really neat things. And we all got really close as a group. And as I mentioned before, my best friend, Lorraine, that's still one of my good friends till today. Well, the joke on the bus as time went on became whenever something was missing, somebody's left sock or somebody couldn't find their water bottle, it was always, yeah, it was the person who took the dump in the woods. You know, it was that person. So this joke went on, and as the bus year started to wind down, something else pretty serious happened at a meeting. We were having our group meetings, and in the middle of the meeting, Jeff Richards said, "Somebody ate my donut out of my box." That was, we all had our boxes under the seat. Somebody ate my donut. And so we talked about it for about 2 or 3 hours. And it was the same thing. Nobody would admit who ate the freaking donut. But it wasn't me. It really wasn't me this time. And so anyways, we wrapped up the school year, and the joke was, oh, yeah, whoever ate the donut, took the shit, missing sock, blah, 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 this mysterious person. Well, we had a great year. It was an amazing, transformative experience for me being on that Audubon expedition. I ended up transferring to a Northern college up in northern Wisconsin, majoring in outdoor ed, and really you can see, you know, how I became an environmentalist, the making of an environmentalist. But about 2 years later, Lorraine and I, we were such good friends, and we ended up going to the same college together in northern Wisconsin. And over one of the breaks, she was visiting me back in the Chicago area. I took her out for pizza, Gino's Pizza in Chicago. Okay, we're talking deep dish pizza in these nice dark, you know, booth, very cozy, pitcher of beer, deep dish, sausage, peppers, mushrooms, onions, you know, the whole 9 yards. And we're through our first pitcher of beer, through half the pizza, and she looks at me really seriously, and she says, "Julie, I have something to tell you." She said, "I ate the donut."